Hi everyone, Tammy Davis here. Hope you're doing well and safe and enjoying your summer as best as possible in this new normal. But it's been a minute since I've been here, but I wanted to come on and explain my position on why I say essential oils are endocrine disruptors. If you haven't seen anything else on Instagram or Twitter or anything, and this is your first time hearing it, I've been saying that, and I want to explain what I mean by that. So first, we have to consider the idea that the word disruptor means to interfere, inhibit. Um, but the interesting thing is the way nature works is the chemistry of nature either activates or deactivates various processes depending on what's required in that moment. And what's required in that moment is a reaction to whatever is going on, whatever's influencing um, or impacting, the organism and so forth. So in nature, again, activation and deactivation is a common thing. It's an everyday experience. It's nothing wrong. It's not bad. It's just part of the process. When we think about disrupting, we think of it as something that's bad, okay? It's kind of like with when we think about the epigenome, and if you're familiar with these saliva tests, these DNA tests that we're getting done, we hear an awful lot about SNPs, mutations, defects, okay? Those all kind of register in our mind as if there's something wrong, okay? They even use their color codes to indicate if you have a double defect, it's going to show up as red on the report. If there's no defect, then it's going to show up as green. But the interesting thing that I'd like to point out here is that is a snapshot of your genetics in that moment. Yes, there may be some things that remain consistent due to the way you act, what your body needs, the way you think, your lifestyle choices, meaning your body care, personal care, and so forth. So a lot of factors go into this, but it's basically just a snapshot. Pardon me, there's a hair tickling me. It's a snapshot of what's been going on with you in that moment. It doesn't mean anything's mutated or defective. It simply means that maybe something was deactivated, but for good reason. What we've done is lost our sense of faith and trust in the body's ability to do what's necessary. And we have created this culture of control. I mean, a lot of control. Everything is about control. Our pharmaceuticals are about control. We now take nutraceuticals in a way to control the body. It's controlled the way you take the medication. It's on the label, right? It's prescribed, recommended ways to take it. There's chemicals added to our nutraceuticals that control the uptake, control the release. This even is built into medication. So it's all about control. And the interesting thing is that nature's not about control. Nature's about fluidity. Nature is whatever comes in and whatever is impacting the organism, changes are made so that life can continue moving forward. So when we talk about an endocrine disruptor, we're talking about a chemical that has the ability to influence the activity of nature. It in many respects, it acts like a hormone. And our need to control has really, I feel like, contributed to the rise that we're seeing in this 2020 virus. With all due respect to our scientists and so forth, and our concerns, I feel like we've actually contributed to that. And the reason I say that is because of the amount of hand sanitizers and disinfectants. I mean, it's not even about wearing a mask, okay? Because I'm going to be really honest with you. Those masks, if they're the blue ones that you normally, some people wear, those what almost look like paper, those are disposable masks. We used to wear them all the time, or I did when I was working in dentistry and oral surgery. it was a daily thing whenever we were working over a patient. It was to block out aerosols, but I mean, your face isn't completely sealed. It's not hermetically sealed. So, and then when I see people, here, I'm going to show you, I'm going to model it. Here we are. I'm going to model this for you. But when I see people go like this, and they're at work, why are we just going to, I mean, I see so many people up in arms about wearing a mask. They want everybody to wear a mask, but this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. It's either that or it's that. I very rarely see people walk around like that. So the point that I'm getting at is these aren't really going to protect us. They will slow down the spread of aerosol, and possibly you got to make sure you're washing them. But so the masks really aren't the problem. I mean, you're better off just wearing a mask because at least at that point, if you are breathing the air in the area, you're actually helping your body build a resilience to it because it's being exposed to the virus. Now, I just did an Amish newsletter that I'm actually going to segment it out and post on my website. And one of them is about the virus and some of the things that I'm saying here, and some nutritional recommendations and whatnot. But the point that I'm getting at is I feel like the increased use of antibacterial, antimicrobial products are actually contributing to the adaptation of the virus. Keep in mind, like I said, nature is about fluidity, and whatever comes into its, that's potentially threatening an organism, the DNA will act in a way that signals the need for change within that organism for the sake of protection. Okay, for the sake of flushing and protecting and so forth. So this is happening in the viruses because it's just like, it's the reason why we can't just take a single antibiotic any longer with a lot of infections. They generally put you on 2 because the spectrum they are really not sure. And this is another reason why in France, essential oils are actually tested or I should say the infections are actually cultured, and then oils are tested with that culture to determine which oil is the best for the individual. They do not work off of books and websites to say, oh yeah, let's use that. They actually culture the infection, and then they determine which oils are best through specific testing and the reactions that are occurring in these petri dishes. Okay, so it's a very more personalized approach. This is the reason why I've been advocating for, and I'll get back to endocrine disruptors here in a minute. But this is the reason why I've been advocating for using essential oils, at least for hand sanitizers. And I had put that post on Instagram with the 3 that I recommended, which was Douglas fir, galbanum, and patchouli, because they're they're about the safest with the exception of the patchouli when it comes to blood thinners. I wanted to speak specifically as well to the fact that why would the oils, because if the virus is adapting, then how do we actually know if these oils are effective? Well, again, it comes down to the personalized, it comes to personalizing your oil choices based on what else is going on in your system. That's the best way I could say it, since we don't have that testing apparatus, or we're not equipped to set up to test oils with regards to infections and so forth. But there are ways to determine what's best for your system based on other things that are going on with you. But that said, those particular oils would be are very well suited to at least begin. And the reason why is because oils do not set out, they're not there to kill. the virus. They're not a threat. They have the ability to alter genetic expression, hence endocrine disruptor. They're acting like a hormone. Okay, they're acting like a hormone, and they're doing this even with regards to the virus. So they are altering the way the DNA is signaling, and therefore the virus actually will die off. It will it not because it dies off because they only live for so long, and they're not replicating as rapidly. Because see, keep in mind, viruses are very aggressive, but if they're not replicating as rapidly, then once you have the more of a stable thing happening where they're okay, so they're not replicating, the body, for that matter, the immune system has the ability to thwart an infection. That's one big reason. And to use those on your hands and to use them on your face because they're good for the face. You wouldn't want to put hand sanitizer on your face, but you can use oils on your face. If you put it in aloe vera gel, it increases the absorption rate. And so you get it into the system. Okay, so there's a whole host of ways of doing this. And this is the reason why I recommend the oils in regards to at least protecting yourself. This is nothing, that you would do if you are in fact infected with the COVID. Ooh, I shouldn't have said that. The 2020 virus. But if you in fact come down with this virus, then you would want to follow your doctor's instructions, hands down. Okay. That said, that's what I mean by endocrine disruptor. They have the ability to act like hormones and either activate or deactivate certain processes in order to help the organism to thrive. Okay. Now, yes, what I find interesting is I actually shared a document or some information from the National Institute of Health and their recognition of man-made and natural endocrine disruptors. So if we recognize this, that these are, all of these chemicals have this ability, then how can we possibly be walking around saying that natural is safe? Because the fact is that they have the ability to influence and act like hormones, some more so than others. Some actually have chemistry that influences our system and improves the way our hormonal system works without directly affecting. But then again, it's still an endocrine disruptor, so it's not a bad thing. It's the ability of the oil or plant or man-made chemical to influence the system very much like a hormone would. Okay, but not necessarily in the exact same way. Because although, it used to be, somebody said to me a long time ago, well, the genetic receptors look like puzzles, and then the chemical fits in kind of like a puzzle piece, and then it can, they don't. Because if you actually look at molecules of chemicals that affect the same genetic receptor, they don't look anything like, they're not the same shape. So it's not that. I really can't describe, I can't explain it. I really just don't. That's the mystery of nature, and that's the beautiful part of it. Instead of trying to sit down and isolate, we just recognize the fact that, for instance, germicrene D has the ability to stimulate the production of farnesol. Yes, farnesol is actually found in essential oils, but guess what? The human body is supposed to make it too. And farnesol is actually used in the production of and systemic use of cholesterol. Okay, very interesting. But again, I would not recommend using any oils with germicrene D in it if you, in fact, take a cholesterol medication. And if you do use something like that, you want to go minimally, simply because, you want to make sure that you monitor the effects so that you don't upset anything, because there are interactions that are possible. The same thing can be said for blood pressure medications. So again, because that's all hormonal. Okay, so the ability to influence hormonal activity is what an endocrine disruptor is. And so I've been asked a couple of times, well, what oils should I avoid? Well, I certainly recommend avoiding anything that has a very specific effect with a neurochemical, whether that be what am I trying to say? Acetylcholine, serotonin, um, dopamine, estrogen. So there are oils that can do that. And so we want to make sure that we minimize that use. And if you're using medications, then you definitely want to, hit me up. I'm really enjoying the Zoom talks where we just go through a Q&A. I can come to the topic, come to the talk with a topic, or I much prefer just to kind of open up about with questions, taking your questions, and answering you from that perspective. So that's really what this is. I mean, I titled it "What You Need to Know About Essential Oils," but it really is about taking your questions and just kind of coming at it from that angle. So, but that's the reason why I say oils are endocrine disruptors. They are very powerful, and it's important that we begin to know how to use them, and yeah, and learn how to integrate them in a more effective and safer way. All right, thanks you guys. Take care, and I will talk to you later.